Previously, in the comment section of the last video.
How dare you shoot my mother? She was the best mother ever. Is that how it's gonna play? Well, we're not gonna play that game. No, previously. No, we already said that already. We shouldn't be sleeping with him because I was sleeping with him. Now we both have the disease.
One thing goes noticed about Gengar, and that's his startling resemblance to Clefairy. An ex-parasite, maybe? How is it spot on number 12? Because it's sure, so going too fast.
What the fuck you on about?
So yeah, Pokemon, remember that? Yeah, well it's haunted.
Alright, let me start over. People who grew up with Pokemon always loved the joy of catching their favourite monsters, forcing them into battle, crushing them with Pokeballs, and selfishly giving protein and other pseudo-steroids to them when they need it. Oh, the adventure of rinse and repeat, beat the gyms, and advance to become champion. Wondering why I'm speaking in such negative tone about the series? Well, besides from loving the depth, yes, depth, within the series, the real truth was right under your nose. My sister used to tell me that Pikachu would appear at the bottom of my garden. Yeah, I wanted to meet him at the time, but I realized now there's a stream down there, so he'll carelessly shock me and kill me.
Shocking, isn't it?
So again, should Pokemon be real? No. You have a Pokemon that slices the prey open and drains body fluids, another Pokemon that is made up of rubbish and contaminates prey with sewage, and the speculated Satan of the franchise. Because as a kid, you'd never look too hard at the Pokedex entries, and I don't blame you, they seem boring. But what you should know is that Pokemon has enough background information for me to create a top 15 most disturbing of the lot. And again, Goku, Chuck Norris, and God, bleh, passed out. Batman's here as well, but Batman always finds a way. And he doesn't exactly speak much. Shut up. So before I begin, I will only stick to the games and what's canon. No creepy or copy-paster in sight. This is all to do with what Satoshi Tajiri and everyone else involved have created. Also remember that disturbing is perceived differently among different people, so factual judgment isn't much of an issue. Besides from the desire to interfere with my list for your own personal gain. Just remember that by watching this video and developing hatred for me, there is nothing you can do about my list to change it. And me as a lawyer will have an answer for everything. So like before, I'm only doing one per evolution line, but may explain the others in that same line if needed. This is also a round 2 or a remake and not a top 15 other disturbing Pokemon, so maybe we'll see some past entries on this list. Who knows? Well, I do. Enjoy.
Indec Pimp.
I think I'm gonna have to zip up my investigation suit because we have a mystery on our hands.
The fate of the ships and crew that wander into Jellicent's habitat. All sunken, all lost, all vanished.
And
Their favorite food is life energy.
for our newly found evidence.
It's said there's a castle of ships Jellicent have sunk on the seafloor.
So as I, Mr. Holmes, have concluded, we didn't know what Jellicent had done to those poor crew members, because it was only speculated that ships and crew were vanished. But now we know that Jellicent was even the culprit behind these shipwrecks, delivering the persona of the Kraken, and not to mention that it feasts on life energy. So the bottom line is that Jellicent eats seamen.
Really, dude?
What did I say? You can either choose between a cross between a possessed Barbie doll and a Toddlers and Tiaras reject, or... Whoa! What's with the eyes? Oh yeah, and the mustache. But seriously, the anime went out on a limb to make sure that Jellicent would scar little kids. Sure, I guess this is more scary than disturbing. Yes, people, they have different meanings. But I think it's worth mentioning. Now, even though I won't count inspiration for anything because it's more or less speculation, but look at what Jellicent is inspired off. It's known as the Neurion, which is a part of Japanese folklore which is depicted as an old man with a god-shaped head and wearing a ketsa that would sneak into someone's house and drink their tea while they're away, believing it to be their own house. So basically it's a haunted jellyfish. So what does that have to do with some sort of ghost jellyfish? Well, it's also believed to be descended from the Yumi Bozu, which was an ocean spirit that would capsize the ship of anyone that speaks about it. So with all the evidence thus far, what is Jellicent classified as?
Mysteriously disturbing. Indec Pedwa.
Now when you look at Gorobis, you think of elegance, beauty, and anything else which completely drains your manliness. But you know what else is draining?
Although Gorobis is the very picture of elegance and beauty while swimming, it is also cruel. When it spots prey, this Pokemon inserts its thin mouth into the prey's body and drains the prey of its body fluids.
Aw, pretty eel. Ah, scary eel! Run! Swim!
Wrong answer! Now do you see? Besides from having shells on his chest, being capable of being 50% male, and not being able to spell Gorobis without gore, this is really what you wouldn't expect. Jellicent is surrounded by the fact that it's a ghost type and also is folklore, but a snipe eel that doesn't look too threatening now becomes the Cell of Pokemon. I seem to reference Cell quite a bit. I should be worried. So any sign to imply that it gets a kick out of doing this?
Its light pink body color turns vivid when it finishes feeding.
I asked for that. Please stop blushing.
Insect 3.
Alright, it's true that Alakazam might die due to an overabundance of brain cells, but what should be taken into account is that cells don't really live forever. But anyway, Kadabra.
It happened one morning. A boy with extrasensory powers awoke in bed, transformed into Kadabra.
Well, that's very blunt. You get a bunch of entries expressing its psychic capabilities, and then Game Freak suddenly think, I know, let's give a boy his wish of finally achieving facial hair. What makes it more slightly disturbing is that it took 3 generations for me to finally be told that the whole time I have been using a little boy in battle. Should I buy him Cocoa Pops? I mean, it boggles me. I mean, I can't just take it seriously, but it's so... Okay, anything else to tell me?
If one is nearby, an eerie shadow appears on TV screens. Seeing the shadow is said to bring bad luck.
Well, that's one way to explain Jamie Oliver, I guess.
Diglett.
Now, as a common signal to people, it's not Shed Ninja. Sorry, I made that mistake once. Anyway, if you don't know how Shedinja exists, then basically it's when your Nincada evolves while you have a spare slot in your party, and if you evolve it in any generation besides 3, then you'll need an extra Pokeball. Of course that's logical, but why does this happen?
Shedinja's hard body doesn't move, not even a twitch. In fact, its body appears to be merely a hollow shell. It is believed that this Pokemon will steal the spirit of anyone peering into its hollow body from its back.
Hey, sup broskies? Huh, it's actually quite cozy in here actually. This sucks.
No!
But anyway, ignore that disturbing soul shit. As it's just a hollow shell, I'm guessing that because Nincada has the shed skin ability, it sheds that skin when it evolves and the Pokeball absorbs that information to retain life. After all, Nincada has a base defense of 90 and trims it when it becomes a Ninjask. So Shedinja. There's nothing there. Like, is it a spirit? Does it want the spirit to become an actual Pokemon with genuine HP? This Pokemon is surrounded with disturbing enigma.
It doesn't even breathe.
My point exactly.
Inartheg.
Dude, did you fart? No wait, there's only me in here. Did I fart? Probably not. Come on, I know this thing is weird and looks incredibly stupid, but I guess we're going to have to examine it further.
It smiles when transmitting electricity.
Wait, what?
It conceals itself in the mud of the seashore. Then it waits. When prey touch it, it delivers a jolt of electricity.
Talk about a orgasmic zap. This thing smiles when shocking people. You expect this thing to just be a thing that flops away when it can't shock the prey. But this silly sausage likes to... Fine.
I killed all the fish.
S&M is one hell of a drug. A permanent drug that hits you when you're born. Guys, I'm not being serious, you know that, right? No, I refuse. Get this cute little twat off my list and...
Using its tail like a spring, it keeps its heart beating by bouncing constantly. If it stops, it dies.
Okay, you can stay. Imagine being told that the only way to stay alive is to run on a treadmill. You'd die in a few minutes. But I know Pokemon games don't contain stamina, but Spoink isn't invincible. Once it faints, it won't bounce. I mean, mentioning that if it stops, it dies means that its bouncing is voluntary. It might bounce while it's asleep, but not when it's unconscious. So there's not really any Pokeball argument here. A Pokeball might deactivate a Pokemon while inside, you know, like being cryogenically frozen, I suppose. But yeah, Spoink might not have much more to fear when it evolves, besides from having the move Bounce to remind it of how it overcame those bad times.
No.
Okay, the life leeching runs in the family, and to prove this, I'll start with Litwick.
While shining a light and pretending to be a guide, it leeches off the life force of any who follow it.
A great start. Now to kick things up with Lampent.
It arrives at the moment of death and steals the spirit from the body. Or even, the spirits it absorbs fuel its baleful fire. It hangs around hospitals waiting for people to pass on.
No one can hope for salvation when they die. This just takes reaping to a whole new level. And I guess Pokemon have become intelligent enough to understand what a hospital actually is. Well, I guess they can understand human speech. Okay, what does Chandelure have to say?
It absorbs the spirit, which it then burns. By waving the flames on its arms, it puts foes into a hypnotic trance. Being consumed in Chandelure's flame burns up the spirit, leaving the body behind.
Oh wait, there's apparently more.
The spirits burned up in its ominous flame lose their way and wander this world forever.
Sick! Like there's no existing anymore for a person? So originally I thought that Chandelure would just burn up spirits, ceasing them to exist and then satisfying their own fire. But apparently now we have a body or spirit or... Wait, this doesn't even make sense. You tell me that the spirit is burned up and then say that the same spirit wanders the world without reasoning. Is it like one part which is the body of the spirit and another which is the mind and emotions? Is it actually the case that a spirit can never die, so it's forever burning inside Chandelua's flames? Yeah, I'll go with that one. If this is what happens, actually I'll say it really does, then that would be even more disturbing than not just existing anymore. Just endless torture, or at least when the ghost itself dies. Come on, it's Pokemon. Would you expect a Pokemon like this to not die? So in Fallout 3, when you drop the chandelier on her head, you're actually feeding her the Chandelure. And the Claws of Hades, well, they're only Lampent. It is actually sad to see that the reason that most people hate Generation 5 is because they think it's just a matter of putting eyes on inanimate objects and calling them Pokemon, even though this has happened since Generation 1. Chandelure always seems like the Pokemon to have a lash at, this is why I say this. Well, how do you feel now when you understand this Pokemon's capabilities? Conclusion? Horrifyingly disturbing. Cacturne is one of the shadiest Pokemon I've seen, considering its design, and how it doesn't just seem like a cactus but also like a scarecrow. This is what I mean.
If a traveler is going through a desert in the thick of night, Cacturne will follow in a ragtag group. The Pokemon are biding their time, waiting for the traveler to tire and become incapable of moving.
How did I actually miss this before? Think about it. It's dark, it's freezing, and you're far from civilization, and what you may or may not know is that you're going to draw your last breath. Well, these idiots might not know what a breath actually is.
Yeah, I scored.
They don't actually say what the Cacturne does to the trainers. Well, they might do.
It lives in the desert. It becomes active at night when it hunts for prey exhausted from the desert's heat.
So there's your answer. It continuously stabs prey, laughing during the process of penetration.
Boss,
Yeah?
you might want to hear this.
Okay.
After spending thousands of years in harsh deserts, its blood transformed into the same substances as sand.
What the fuck? What the absolute wank? How does that make any sense in the history of making sense? Its blood contains at least one of silicon and or oxygen. Okay, blood already has oxygen, but so what? Because I eat cereal so much, my blood is gonna transform into milk and bran flakes? Just say, it can survive in a desert because it's a cactus! Yes, the other reason about Cacturne as a stalker and looking shady is disturbing. This may be even disturbing too, but god damn it! Sorry God, you're still ill.
Sorry.
Don't talk, just listen.
It tugs on the hands of children to steal them away. However, it gets pulled around instead.
Okay, this is where you could scream pedophile, but it's hard to say whether Drifloon is an adult or not. But KB, it says there that it gets pulled around instead. Well, I thought you might say that, which is why I have this.
These Pokemon are called the signposts of wandering spirits. Children holding them sometimes vanish.
So that proves there are occasions where Drifloon can abduct a child. This is somehow detailed in the anime where kids are naive as fuck. Zatu foretold they'd be lawyers, yada yada yada. But in hindsight, whether or not they do take kids somewhere, that's a disturbing intention within itself. In the Japanese entry, it stated that Drifloon takes kids to hell. Did I watch too much of Nanny McPhee or something? I can discipline my own children in the future, thank you. Besides from Duskull's little red skittle that resides within his head, the Pokemon has a very peculiar backstory.
There is an oft-told admonishment given to misbehaving children that this Pokemon will spirit away bad children who earn scoldings from their mothers.
Again, I can take care of my own children, thank you very much. Besides, they're just children. No need to just spirit them away like you say. We were all children once, right? Whereas Drifloon has the intention of taking kids to hell, Duskull not only has the intention, but also has a crying fetish. Does that still count as sadism? It reminds me of that one kid who wants to join in with the crowd, but is too shy and the kids don't like him. So with the task of sprinting children away, this will make them cry, or whatever Duskull does to them to make them cry. And Duskull will want more, I can assure you of that. One other thing to note is this.
A glare from a single scarlet eye makes even burly grown-ups freeze in utter fear.
Well, this is simply because adults know the truth, and will bow down to this floating skull. Within the evolution line, Dusclops is said to have a hollow interior and can suck in anything, and then nothing will ever come back out, which is also a frightening concept. But Dusknoir, on the other hand, which might I point out, becomes this Pokemon by trading a Dusclops holding a Reaper Cloth. This Pokemon uses its antenna to command the world of spirits to take people there, and can hold spirits in its belly. However, I don't find this entirely disturbing when you consider that Dusknoir is basically a Reaper. That's its job. It doesn't necessarily torture anyone or haunt them, so I guess it's all good. The spirits in its belly are just wandering souls that it looks after. So the last thing to say about Duskull is the pervert Shadowcat from X-Men. I would say that Cubon's backstory is the depressing kind of disturbing, and it starts with this.
Wears the skull of his deceased mother, Its cries echo inside the skull and comes out as a sad melody.
Okay, Cubone's mother was killed by Team Rocket, and seeing as that's the case, how about we say that Team Rocket kills millions of Cubone mothers for shits and giggles? Or at least ask Professor Oak why he decided to dedicate his Pokedex entries to one in the species. I'll go for the first option because all Cubones wear that skull. Next is that sad melody. Is it something like, I'm here without you, baby? Okay, that was in poor taste, I apologize. I can understand this loss. For Pokemon, this kind of story just doesn't make sense, especially when you face that same dead mother in the game. So how upset is it? Well,
The stains on the skull the Pokemon wears are made by the tears it sheds.
acid tears. I suppose though that maybe it's kind of sick concerning the fact that Cubone skins its mother for the skull and T-bone, or maybe there's another theory about how Team Rocket really killed the mother. This is getting even freakier. There are a few other theories surrounding Cubone which concern Missingno and Kangaskhan, claiming that Cubone is actually the baby Kangaskhan which had his mother killed, and Missingno occurred because they decided to scratch the whole idea and take the baby Kangaskhan out of the game, because of the fact that Missingno evolves into Kangaskhan. I don't believe this to be true because I'll explain why for another time. Ooh, almost. Just don't bother claiming that it's true until I provide that reasoning. So for now, let's gaze at the big picture. Cubone and Lavender Town join as one. It was also known as Orphan in the Red and Blue betas, which was a mutation of the word orphan. I guess they wanted to rub it in the poor soul's face. Alright, I cave. I've been at this way too long, proving why Hypno shouldn't even be on a disturbing list in the first place. But people still fight back. They pin me up against a wall and throw darts at my kneecaps. Okay, Drowsy, the elephant man with the snout and predatorial eyes, who prefers eating the dreams of kids because they're much tastier apparently. Well, they would be if they were dreaming of chocolate rivers and such. But apparently Hypno is the butt of everyone's fear, so let's see why.
It carries a pendulum-like device. There was once an incident in which it took away a child it hypnotized.
Wait, what? Okay, let me rephrase this entry. Not Hypno, but that one Hypno from Pokemon FireRed and LeafGreen. This is really why I didn't want to speak about Hypno. It just seemed unfair to single it out. But that one Hypno is still a Pokemon, and he's going to be treated like such. Now, Mr. Hippie. Mr. Hippo. You can't just be snatching away little girls like this. Yeah, I know which Hypno did this. The same one I used for my own personal gain. Beating Knob Jockey and becoming champion. But we've gone from taking kids to hell to literally just snatching a kid to which it already lured at this point, and thought it could get away with such a ludicrous act. As for Hypnos in general, how about this?
When it's very hungry, it puts humans it meets to sleep. Then it feasts on their dreams.
So it commits the same act as Drowsy, and not just that, but it kind of wins people over. Like, puts humans it meets to sleep. Ever thought about that? But this other entry shows how professional Hypno treats this crime.
While this Pokemon searches for prey, it polishes the pendulum.
Wait, so you leave fingerprints on your pendulum every time, you freak? How about while you're at it, you wear these leather gloves? I suppose the Drowsy snoring game from Pokemon Stadium weirded me out a little bit, but the way that Hypno stares and his big nose just makes it look like a central mastermind in his work because of how he treats it. So yeah, you have won me over with that one Hypno. Congratulations.
Say it.
No.
Say it.
Alright, I'll say it. Hypno's Lullaby. It's fan-made, okay? Yeah, a fan of Hypno, who would have guessed?
Daddy, what's that masky thing?
Well, son,
And is he crying?
just read this, you little shit.
Each of them carries a mask that used to be its face when it was human. Sometimes they look at it and cry.
Yep, you heard right, kid. This Pokemon used to be a person. Possibly an Aztec, based on the way its mask is. One that was way too obsessed with gold. Not to say that its mask is gold, though if it was, I'd probably sell it. But let's analyze this further. Unova is said to be based on the New York area. Because of this, people speculate that it may be the case that the Relic Castle is based off of Ground Zero. I can't really say it is, because I don't think they go to such depths, and plus, the Relic Castle is said to date back 2,500 years ago. But anyway, back to Yamask. Yes, this thing is a person in spirit and a Pokemon in physical form, which means you battle a person and harm it in battle to either knock it out or catch it, to which you use it in battle simply because of its amazing defenses. Well, now I see you're just catering to yourself, you penciled dick.
Well, maybe a person also, but then it can want to fight for its trainer.
Mate, this thing still cries about its former life. Doesn't matter if this former life was good or bad, just leave it to sulk. And besides, take a look at this.
These Pokemon arose from the spirits of people interred in graves in past ages. Each retains memories of its former life.
Holy shares!
Now you feel bad. You say that it wants to fight for the trainer, that may very well be. It may be that this Pokemon continues to cry when it's with its trainer, and maybe with the right trainer, the trainer can cry with Yamask, but can't hug it because trainers are normal types.
So what about Cofagrigus or Cofagrigus or just Fag for short? You know, that weird sarcophagus thing.
Now if you look closely, that is actually a set of sharp teeth with a glaring grin. Cannot be unseen. Cofagrigus is said to eat nearby humans and turn the body that's left behind into a mummy. Is it safe to say that the Night Mother could be inside Cofagrigus? The Black and White 2 entries confirm what they do, and the first Pokemon White say they only pretend to be a sarcophagus and that they are actually pure gold. I was right about the Aztec thing. So for this one, I'm sticking with Yamask just for the insane idea that it's a person and that it also has a depressing backstory, as well as Cubone.
Bayonet, where did they go wrong with you?
We already say that Bayonet looks like a possessed doll based on the colour, the grin, and speaking of the grin, it seems fairly similar to the Boogeyman from Nightmare Before Christmas. So is our guess right?
Bayonet generates energy for laying strong curses by sticking pins into his own body. This Pokemon was originally a pitiful plush doll that was thrown away.
So with the grin in mind, Bayonet hurts others by hurting itself in a very and supposedly ravishing kind of way according to it. And the fact that it was already a doll that was thrown away, we can understand how vengeful it is. Well, not yet, we can't.
They are said to live in garbage dumps and wander about in search of the children that threw them away.
This Pokemon doesn't even give a shit anymore by the sounds of it. Could Bayonet want to kill the child or just reunite with them? Mentioning what we said earlier about it, well, other entries exaggerate how it feels.
A doll that became a Pokemon over its grudge from being junked.
All of these games mention this. Does Bayonet have a diary to write all this stuff down?
It is seen in dark valleys.
The evil Batman by the sounds of it.
So besides from the fact that it has become twisted by a somewhat tragic past, even though a person wouldn't predict that it's actually a cursed doll when they have it, there's another thing to note about Bayonet as well.
Strong feelings of hatred turned a puppet into a Pokemon. If it opens its mouth, its cursed energy escapes.
Good. Let the hate flow through. As long as you keep that zip locked up.
So remember what I said about the Boogeyman earlier? I wasn't joking. Well, I kind of was.
And are we missing out Shuppet? Well, kind of. It's said that hordes of Shuppet line up at a person's home when the person is feeling vengeful. Plus, it feeds on negative emotions to make it stronger. I wonder how many poison pen letters they write. Well, possibly get Dusclops to write. But overall, yes. It's Bayonet that's victorious in this for a very good reason. Sam and Dean, do you agree?
Bobby!
No, not Bobby! Bayonet! Bobby! I'll call you later, okay?
So before I go on to number 1, I want to list the Pokemon that could have been on this list, but weren't, because I felt they weren't, even though you felt they should be. No hard feelings, bro.
People may say, where the hell is Gengar? He was on the other list, of course. Well, I thought about it, and a lot of this is from what a doppelganger or evil ghost would actually do. It is a scary thought to copy people's shadows, but disturbing? I can't really say for much. As for the Clefairy/Clefable theory, it could be true that Gengar is their shadow, or it could be just similar designs based on how it likes to mimic the shadows of humans as well. The same scary thoughts go to Haunter as well when licking people. For Muck, there isn't as much depth to the disturbing factor to put him on the list. Do I really have to spell Darkrai out? Yes, it induces nightmares in people, but it says that it doesn't actually mean any harm, meaning that it does it out of self-defense. Jinx is just weird, dude. Yeah, I suppose we saw that image of Giratina. It was frightening for a Pokemon game at the time because it hadn't been seen before, but now it's kind of grown on me. The Distortion World felt more fun and irritating to me, but I don't think Giratina is the incarnation of Satan. 6 legs, 6 wings, banished for bad behavior. But the Distortion World is a twist in reality, not hell. And you would speculate that it is based on the Basilisk, but just the Basilisk. You can put 6 things on anything and say, hey look, it's Satan! The eating people thing seems more monstrous to me for Kyurem, but that opening theme for the sequels are pretty scary. Not disturbing. Missing though. Really? A glitch? No. That's one of the many Pokemon in any of the hex values it represents. As for Ghost, that's Marowak. And Ghastly, and Haunter, are not a real Pokemon, just an illusion. By the same logic, you could call Substitute a Pokemon. Oh god, evil teddy bear!
So if there's any Pokemon that I find disturbing physically, mentally, and downright internally, it has to be
You know, the whole time I saw the evolution between Paras and Parasect take place, I always felt something was peculiar. Like, was it the fact that Parasect had no eye pupils? Wait, this also affects the present. It still has no eye pupils. Or maybe the size of that mushroom, which is easy to miss because it's an evolution process, right? Well, it's more than that.
A host-parasite pair in which the parasite mushroom has taken over the host bug. Prefers damp places. The bug host is drained of energy by the mushrooms on its back. They appear to do all the thinking. The bug host is controlled by the mushrooms that scatter poisonous spores. It stays mostly in dark, damp places, the preference not of the bug, but of the mushrooms on its back. The larger the mushrooms on its back grows, the stronger the mushroom spores it scatters. When nothing's left to extract from the bug, the mushrooms on its back leave spores on the bug's egg. Parasect is known to infest large trees en masse and drain nutrients from the lower trunk and roots. When an infested tree dies, do I have to really read? Okay, they move on to another tree all at once. Oh god!
There. These extracts alone make Parasect one horrifying creature. Firstly, that mushroom you believe to be just an accessory to Paris' power is actually what possesses his mind. A parasitic infestation of a Pokemon which all Parises are capable of developing to be converted into this zombified state. And by the way, this parasite in the Pokemon universe is known as the Tochukatsu, which is a form of endoparasitoid that replaces the host tissue and can affect the behavior of the insect. So then it's the fact that the fungus does all of the thinking. Do you think when bread gets moldy, the mold is saying, "Kill the one who eats you"? Not just that, but the detail of Paris being drained of energy like it's slowly getting weaker in the mind by the second. You know as well that the new host is deadly because of the poisonous spores that it emits, and these get stronger as the mushroom further develops. Not to mention that these spores are left on the offspring. It then forces the body onto habitats not suited for the Paris, and mentions one tiny detail implying that there'll soon be nothing to extract from the bug. This makes it very easy to empathize with the pain that the original bug is feeling, or better yet, what could it feel if it wasn't brain dead? This is at the top for a greatly specific reason. It's not a ghost of any sort. No supernatural occurrences anywhere to be found. Just a frightening parasite seeping its way through the victim's body, but not to kill them, but to just take them over. So really, the host is still alive technically. This compared to the entire franchise is just a huge step up. And personally, I find this kind of stuff more mentally and physically disturbing. Back up in university, we were cleaning out the fridge and we found an egg mayonnaise in there that had been there for about 3 months. I almost died when I smelled it. Why did I smell it? I don't know! It's very easy to overlook Parasect due to it being extremely underwhelming as a general Pokemon. It doesn't have very decent stats and its typing opens up a lot of weaknesses. So as a final note, I want to say that with Yamask, yeah, we can sympathize with the lost soul. Bayonet is disturbing in its way of thinking, but may want to reunite with the child, with a knife behind his back. Parasect, we don't know what the fungus is thinking. It hurts just to stare at the design because it carries a blank expression. So I'm KB and I think Parasect needs a lobotomy. Lights out. Hey guys, hope you enjoyed the video. If you didn't, then that's fine, no hard feelings. If you want to check out my Let's Plays, such as Pokemon and Rayman 2, then they're down there. And you may also want to subscribe to this channel for more updates from me if you like my stuff, then there's plenty more to check out. As well as subscribing to my general discussions and comedy channel. You can also like my Facebook page and follow me on Twitter to join the whole mad community. So again, thank you and lights out.
Daddy?
One sec. Now? I've already watched a bit of it, so watch it without me. I've already watched a bit of it, so watch it without me.
Daddy, what's that masky thing?